flights to Washington, D.C. at flyags.com. Direct flights to Washington, D.C. at flyags.com.
Well, busy in the weather department, which includes tracking Tropical Storm Idalia. More details on this storm and what we can expect here across the CSRA coming up.
Now at 4, Florida once again bracing for a potentially damaging storm. Tropical Storm Idalia is gaining strength, as Tim was saying, in the warm Gulf of Mexico waters as it churns toward the west coast of Florida. Plus, plans for proposed power lines in Aiken are on hold. We'll explain why. And many young adults are walking around with cancer and they don't even know it. Why that number is going up as your news at 4 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thanks so much for joining us. Brad is off today. Coverage you can count on begins on Florida's west coast, where we're taking a live look now at Tampa. The tropical storm is strengthening to a Category 3 hurricane by the time it makes landfall this week. Rena Roy has the latest track of the storm.
Preps are underway in Florida as Idalia churns toward the state's Gulf Coast, rapidly strengthening and expected to make landfall as a major storm.
Wind and surge could be significant, 6 to 11 feet, and heavy rain as well.
With that storm surge likely, people in Tampa stocking up on sandbags.
We're college students, so we're just trying to prepare as best as we can.
Forecasters warn Idalia could also generate tornadoes.
It's better to be prepared versus not prepared and have regrets.
Duke Energy mobilizing about 4,500 workers to respond to potential power outages. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis getting a pledge of federal support from the White House after declaring a state of emergency for more than 30 counties, about half the state.
Floridians in the path of this storm, though, should be prepared to lose power, particularly if it ends up in a big bend. Major impact. There's a lot of trees. You've got a lot of power lines down.
Tampa International Airport shutting down at midnight, with forecasters expecting Idalia to make landfall Wednesday morning.
Everybody on the Florida Gulf Coast, just watch and be prepared and take the necessary action to protect you and your family.
After hitting Florida, Idalia is also expected to bring heavy rain and a chance of flash flooding in southern Georgia and the Carolinas before leaving the East Coast on Thursday. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
For the latest on Idalia's path and possible storms in our area, here's Chief Meteorologist Tim Miller.
Possible impacts right here at home. Details and all that coming up in just a few minutes. Jenny.
All right, thanks, Tim. A project that outraged neighbors in South Aiken has now been put on hold. News Channel 6's Graham Lee joins us in the studio to explain why.
Yeah, Jenny, a week ago I spoke to frustrated neighbors living off Old Dibble Road. They were upset because a project called for power lines to be built in their neighborhood. But today, their mood has changed. The plans called for a new transmission line that would improve the service at 2 substations, which connects various communities in the area. But pushback from those not in favor prompted a meeting at USC Aiken last Tuesday. The Aiken Electric Cooperative Board announced the project will be paused Thursday. Neighbors say the legislators at the meeting did them a great service, but the job isn't done.
We applaud and thank them for their very incisive questioning. They also have to hold Central Electric to strict account, because anything they do is not only going to affect all the communities on that plan, but the whole of Aiken County.
Now, Aiken Electric CEO tells me the next step is for the Central Electric Power Cooperative to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate the best route for everyone involved, but there's no timeline on when that will take place. Jenny?
Graham, thank you so much. Happening now, the Golden Harvest Food Bank and Good Shepherd Baptist Church on Olive Road are helping feed the hungry today. News Channel 6's Nikita Dennis joins us live now from the giveaway. Nikita?
Yeah, I'm standing right here in front of Good Good Shepherd Baptist Church, where more than 50 food boxes have been distributed to cars already. Golden Harvest and Good Shepherd Baptist Church are distributing over 20,000 pounds of food to families. Organizers say they try to do this every year, especially when kids are going back to school. In the boxes, they have food for families that they may need on a daily basis, like canned foods, cereal, juice, and other snacks. And of course, families were able to sign up in advance to get these food boxes. But if you weren't able to sign up, you can do so at Good Shepherd Baptist Church. The distribution does end at 5 p.m. And if you don't have kids, which is what they're aiming for, to pass out food with people that have kids, but if you don't have kids, you can still come and get food boxes. They do have emergency food boxes for you here. And I'll have the full story for you coming up tonight at 10 and 11. For right now, live in Augusta, Nikita Dennis, WJBF, News Channel 6.
Recent shootings in Jefferson County are causing concern for people who live there. A week ago, an overnight drive-by shooting left 5 people injured. This weekend, a 19-year-old died following another shooting. Kaya Shields was asleep on the sofa when she was shot around 1 a.m. last Saturday. She ran to her mother's room for help before collapsing. Authorities tell us that shooting incidents in Jefferson County are on the rise.
I'm just trying to be strong for her and to be her voice, and just to put out there, like, the gun violence needs to stop. And she didn't deserve this. She didn't even get to live her life. She didn't get to finish graduating college and becoming the teacher that she wanted to be.
If you have any information about the recent violence in Jefferson County or the surrounding areas, call the GBI's anonymous tip line at 1-800-597-8477. That number again is 1-800-597-8477. A pedestrian has died after being hit by a car near Barnwell. The South Carolina Highway Patrol reports the pedestrian was hit August 17th on Highway 3 near Pine Acres. Investigators say the person was walking in the roadway after dark and died from their injuries on Sunday. Augusta leaders are considering new rules for people asking for money. It's a common sight on highway exits and elsewhere, people panhandling for money. Tomorrow, Augusta commissioners are scheduled to discuss creating a new ordinance to ban aggressive panhandling in public. Commissioner Sean Frantum is pushing the proposal and says it's not about hurting people in need.
We want to help the ones that want to be helped, but if the ones that are just here to make money, they need to move on. And I think this puts some teeth in it to the law enforcement to kind of help us with that.
Commissioner Jordan Johnson understands panhandling is an issue, but says he cannot support any new regulations that would criminalize poverty. Researchers found an increase in younger people being diagnosed with cancer, and it's happening right here in the CSRA. A study from the National Cancer Institute reports that between 2010 and 2019, the incidence rates of early onset cancers increased a lot. Georgia Cancer Center's Dr. Alicia Arnold says doctors there are seeing more patients with breast cancer and other types of cancer in the 30 to 39-year-old range. She says some of the contributing factors came from the pandemic, such as obesity, a weakened immune system, even stress.
You look at grocery prices, you look at gas prices, or just renting a home or buying a home, and it's really, really difficult for that age group right now. And that's a very stressful factor that then also causes your body to have a weakened immune system. You're releasing more cortisol, and then your body's just more subject to things like cancer.
Dr. Arnold says environmental factors play a role too, but the risks are sometimes not there at all. Tonight at 7, we'll hear from a mother who fought breast cancer at age 39 while pregnant. The types of food you eat, especially later in life, could also affect your risk of diabetes. Ika Joshi reports.
What you eat for dinner is often guided by what's available or recent cravings, but a more strategic approach can have long-lasting effects. A recent study published in the Journal of Internal Medicine looked at the heart health of 370,000 people ages 50 through 70 on various diets for more than 20 years. Researchers found that diets low in saturated fats like butter and palm oil but high in plant proteins like beans, tofu, and nuts were associated with less heart disease, cancer, and death in people 50 to 70 years old. On the other hand, people who ate diets high in processed carbs, high in butter, and who got protein from meat struggled with more heart problems, cancers, and deaths from many different causes. The next time you decide to plan a family dinner, especially with grandparents coming, you might want to consider a more plant-based approach to the menu. Choose chicken, fish, or a vegetarian option, lots of fruits, veggies, nuts, and reach for the olive oil instead of butter. With this Medical Minute, I'm Mike Ajachi.
The CSRA's first medical cannabis dispensary is coming to Columbia County. It's one of 2 companies allowed to sell medical cannabis in Georgia. The new location across from Academy Sports on Washington Road will be the 5th in the state. It is legal in Georgia for a dispensary to sell medical cannabis, low THC oil for patients who are registered with the Department of Public Health. People we spoke with had different opinions about the dispensary coming to the area, but most tell us they just want it to be regulated.
Some doctors are too easy on the prescriptions, but I think medical marijuana can be a good thing if it's controlled properly.
The company tells us they're working to open that location in September. County leaders did not have a comment on the new business. Coming up, the historic gathering 6 decades ago of the March on Washington. Why it's considered a pivotal moment in the country's civil rights movement. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech from the March on Washington has echoed across the world for the past 6 decades. But some North Carolinians heard those words before he delivered them in Washington. Nick Sturdivant has the story.
It's been 60 years since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. Saturday, thousands converged on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. to honor a defining moment for civil rights.
Certainly we commemorated, it was about commemoration, but it was more about continuation. So many rights that were fought for over the course of the last 60 years. There have been deliberate attempts to roll those rights back. We're coming together now with a seriousness of purpose.
Reverend J. Augustine, the pastor at St. Joseph AME Church in Durham, was in attendance. He remembers going to the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington. At the time, he was a student at Howard University.
I was somewhat in awe 30 years ago. I was in awe to be in the presence of such luminaries who had been, as we say, on the battlefield at the forefront in fighting for and protecting and advocating for the rights of others. Yesterday was much more of a, rather than being so symbolic, it was much more practical. It was hands-on because I recognize the torch of the baton has been passed to my generation of leaders.
Today we have gathered to celebrate Social Justice Sunday. It's why Sunday, Augustine's church also took time to reflect on the march.
The church has always been, as far as I'm concerned, and it always will be the epicenter, especially in the Black community. It is not a place where we engage in partisanship, but it most certainly is a place where we are incredibly political, particularly in North Carolina, where voting rights are again under attack with voter suppression laws. The church has got to play a part in advocating and educating.
And here at home, our local National Action Network participated in the anniversary march on Washington over the weekend. These pictures are courtesy of Beulah Nash Teachey. Students from Burke, Columbia, and Richmond counties participated. We'll be right back.
I'm a Play. Download it today.
Well, tonight, this is a live look at Palm Harbor, Florida for the Skyview Network. This is, of course, right off the west coast of Florida, as, of course, our folks in Palm Harbor, our friends there, are watching Idalia, and we are watching it very closely, too, because that storm will have a major impact across the CSRA, the very latest on what to expect coming up.
Now on News Channel 6 and 6, cracking down on panhandling in Augusta, why commissioners are at odds over a new proposal. Plus, a power line project paused in Aiken, why some are celebrating the decision. And the first medical cannabis dispensary in the CSRA. We'll hear from the
community, and your news at 6 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dee Griffin. Brad and Jenny are off. Your top stories in a moment, but first, let's send it over to our chief media.
Channel 6.
Recent shootings in Jefferson County are causing concern for people who live there. A week ago, an overnight drive-by shooting left 5 people injured. This weekend, a 19-year-old died following another shooting. Kia Shields was asleep on the sofa when she was shot around 1 Saturday morning. She ran to her mother's room for help before collapsing. Authorities tell us that shooting incidents in Jefferson County are on the rise.
I'm just trying to be strong for her and to be her voice, and just to put out there, like, the gun violence needs to stop. And she didn't deserve this. She didn't even get to live her life. She didn't get to finish graduating college and becoming the teacher that she wanted to be.
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in this case. A project that outraged neighbors, the CSRA's first medical cannabis dispensary is coming to Columbia County. Hannah Latier has the story.
TrueLeave is one of 2 companies allowed to sell medical cannabis in Georgia. The new location, across from Academy Sports on Washington Road, will be the 5th in the state.
As you see, many of our veterans being treated with medical marijuana and other folks with PTSD and anxiety disorders, I think it's a good thing to have.
Medical cannabis can be used to help treat symptoms of many different diseases and illnesses.
I've had friends that had cancer that weren't eating because of the nausea, and the medical marijuana helped them to give them an appetite so they would eat. And so in that sense, it helped.
While there is support for the dispensary from many people I spoke to, others aren't so sure. They tell me they're worried about the impact it could have on their children and their families.
I don't care to be around it. I don't much less want my daughter around it, but I know it is in the world. She's gonna have it. She's gonna see it, smell it. She smelled it before. She's questioned me. But I honestly, I don't really want it here, but that's not my to say so.
It is legal in Georgia for a dispensary to sell medical cannabis low THC oil for patients who are registered with the Department of Public Health. Although people we spoke to had different opinions about the dispensary coming to the area, most of them tell us they just want it to be regulated.
I think it should be a regulated thing, because then that's when you start getting the illegal activity going on in let's say in the neighborhood anyway.
In Columbia County, Hannah Latier, WJBF News Channel 6.
The company tells us they are working on opening that location in September. County leaders didn't have a comment on the new business. Well, coming up, a food giveaway and a